Hello class, my name is Ian Garcia, and for my focus paper speech I will be doing The Dark Knight. Now The Dark Knight is set about a year after Batman Begins, and Batman has now instilled fear in all the criminals of Gotham and is beginning to round up the last of the Mafia. That is, however, until a new character is introduced, the Joker, and the Joker instills a new wave of fear and chaos throughout the city, causing Batman to struggle to gain the upper hand on him. Now, the first concept I noticed was nonverbal, and this was the use of proxemics. In the beginning scenes, the Joker is seen robbing the bank with his mob, and one of the bankers decides to retaliate and fire upon them. After an exchange of gunfire, the Joker and his mob leave the banker on the floor injured. They continue to rob the Mafia bank, and as they're leaving, the Joker decides to have one last retaliation by talking down. The banker has one last retaliation by talking down on the Joker. This causes the Joker to show a great example of proxemics by getting up close and personal into his intimate space, delivering the line, "I believe whatever doesn't kill you makes you stranger." He also takes off his mask to add emphasis on the stranger. Now, another concept I noticed was identity and the self, and it is scripts. Throughout the movie, Batman can be seen adhering to his scripts and guidelines that he follows. Now, the three main ones that he follows is this one: to never kill, always uphold justice, and do what is best for the greater good regardless of how it affects you. These scripts are how Batman chooses to live and decides upon how he acts. Another concept I noticed was conflict, and this was the conflict response types. Batman's reaction to the conflict that he has with the Joker is a great example of conflict response type, because the Batman shows the loyalty response type by refusing to give up on his fight against the Joker, regardless of how difficult it may seem to capture him and stop him. He remains loyal to the city and to himself during this conflict. Another example would be perception and stereotypes. Now, throughout the movie, stereotypes can be shown in various examples with various different characters. For this example, I'll be using when Batman is introduced to the new District Attorney of Gotham, Harvey Dent. Now, because Gotham is a very corrupt city, the Batman immediately assumes him to be corrupt and untrustable. That is until, after various trials, the Batman begins to trust Harvey and believe that he is working with similar goals to stop the crime in Gotham. Another concept that I noticed was listening and external obstacles. In the film, there is a scene where Bruce Wayne is having a very important meeting regarding his money and the trust fund of his corporation. Now, because of his nightly activities as Batman, he is exhausted and simply overloaded and falls asleep during the meeting. He is unable to listen at all and instead is just knocked out. Now, another concept that I noticed was nonverbal, and this was the use of chronemics. During the film, and during a somewhat big shot money lending social gathering at the Wayne Manor for Harvey Dent, Bruce Wayne, who was the host of the event, shows up late and without a care. This is a great example of chronemics, and by arriving late, it shows that Wayne does not care about anything other than what interests him, and because the social gathering was not for him, he arrived late. Now, another concept that I noticed was emotion and grief, and this was the stages of grief. Now, towards the middle of the movie, the Joker captures Harvey Dent and his girlfriend, Rachel. He ties them up and puts them in separate buildings, both rigged with explosives. And he tells the police force and Batman that he must only save one and allow the other to die. Batman decides to save Harvey Dent and let the police try to save Rachel. Now, during the scene, Batman can be seen dragging Harvey Dent away, with Harvey Dent crying and in denial, knowing that Rachel will die. He is screaming, "No, no, this can't be. You were supposed to save her, not me." Now, after the passing of Rachel, and with the manipulations of the Joker, he then channels his anger and depression towards the Batman and police, and bargains with his conscience by attempting to put matters into his own hands and become the chaos to those who have failed in their attempt to save Rachel. Unfortunately, we never see the acceptance part of this character progression, and Harvey unfortunately becomes a villain known as Two-Face. Now, for my last concept I noticed was nonverbal, and it was the use of paralanguage. Throughout the film, Batman is constantly showing paralanguage with his voice. He talks kind of like this, with a deeper, more gravelly voice to show dominance, and aggression to his assailants and enemies, and gives him a more fearful position, puts him in a more fearful position. Now, I chose this movie because growing up, it was one of my favorite movies, and to this day, it still is. I loved the hero Batman, and as I got older, I learned to appreciate and admire the writing, acting, and cinematography